Hello, guys. So today we're going to be talking about division. So it's week 5. This is the last full week of NTI. Starting next week, we will be doing in-person classes two days a week, and then after fall break, we'll have in-person classes for 3 days for Group A, 2 days for Group B, and then they'll alternate until we say otherwise. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all. So this will be your last division lesson over the internet until you can get in here. If you are on Edgenuity or you're doing this virtually, you will still continue to get your services like these little lessons online. So if you don't see these and they disappear, please let me know and I will post one for you. So let's get started. So division is the separating into parts or groups. So what does that mean? That means that we are dividing a number into groups and parts, and it can be done in 2 different ways. So the first way is repeated subtraction. This means we know the size of each group and need to find how many groups fit into our dividend. And if you don't remember what that word means, we are going to review it in just a minute. So example, I have 10 teaspoons of olive oil. Each recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of olive oil. How many batches can I make? So, I am looking for how many groups can I make. And I'm saying that in each group, we have 2 teaspoons. And all together, I have 10 teaspoons. So, that is an example of repeated subtraction where we're looking for how many groups we have made within our total. So let's see what our second type is. So our second type of division is equal sharing. This is where we are given a quantity and the number of groups is the answer. We are given the total and we're given the number of groups, but we're not given how many is in each group. And an example of that would be if I said I have 10 pounds of grapefruit and I need to divide it between 5 people. So I'm sharing my grapefruit with 5 different people, and that would be like me handing each person 1 grapefruit until I run out, and then everyone would have 2 grapefruits because we are looking for how many fit into each group, and each group would be the person who's holding the groups. So let's look at number 5. Look at slide 5. So let's review. Our dividend, which I had said earlier, our dividend is that total. It's the number that we're going to divide into parts or separate. And then our divisor is always going to be the number of groups the dividend is divided into. So this is showing me that 8 is going to get divided into 2 groups. So I should be picturing 2 batches. And then this quotient or answer to the division problem is telling me how many in each group. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in group 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 in group 2. So when you are solving these, you can always picture what is happening, what's going on, and how do we need to set up our equation? Because sometimes, for example, when we're given let's go look at our different types. For repeated subtraction, you are going to have to set it up a certain way. So how you would set it up is, since we are looking for the number of groups, you would have to put the total number. So let's use our example down here. Our total number of teaspoons was 10. And we wanted to know We don't know the number of groups, but we do know how many is in each group, which was 2. So we are looking for that missing number. So that's how you solve your repeated subtraction problems. Now let's go look at our equal sharing. So when we're looking for equal sharing, we know it's equal sharing because we are trying to figure out how many is in one group. What size is it? How big or small is it? So we are doing, in this example, we would have 10 grapefruit as our total number of grapefruit, and we are dividing it into 5 groups, and we are looking for what? Go ahead and answer that on your Edpuzzle, and then once you're finished, you will continue. Okay, so if you said we are looking for the size of one of the groups or how many that person has, you would be correct. Now, let's go back to our examples, and we're going to start determining whether we're looking for partitioning, are we looking for, are we doing repeated subtraction, or are we doing equal sharing? So we just reviewed that the quotient's the answer, the divisor is the number of groups, and the dividend is our total. Now we can write division 3 different ways. We're just reviewing it in case you had forgotten. Your dividend is divided by your divisor, which equals your quotient, and it can be done horizontally, or we could write this as a fraction, or we can write this as under the fraction bar or in the house. And this is the same thing. We're just rewriting it in different ways. And if you notice, our 3 things we must have in a division problem are in every one. So we have a divisor, we have a dividend, and a quotient in every problem. So we have an example. Shania has 125 feet of licorice. She cut it into pieces that were 25 feet long. How many pieces did she make? So let's set up our problem. So our total, Shania has 125 feet of licorice. Ooh. Let's fix that. Okay. Divided by, what goes in the middle? Do you remember? Go ahead and answer that on your Edpuzzle. Okay. Yes. So this needs to be our number of groups. So were we given how many groups? No, we weren't given our number of groups. We were given how much is in each group. So how much is in each group of licorice? 25 feet. Perfect. So now our job is to solve our equation. But I want you to look at this and figure out, what type of problem is it? Is it equal sharing or is it repeated addition? I mean, equal sharing or repeated subtraction? When we go back, repeated subtractions when we're looking for the number of groups, equal sharing is looking for the size. Are we looking for the groups or the size? So, repeated subtraction or equal sharing. So if you said you are doing repeated subtraction, you are correct, because we are trying to figure out, no, if you said that we were doing equal sharing, then you are correct, because we are trying to figure out how many each group has. So we could do this. If we wanted to take a very long time to do this, we could draw 125 foot of licorice. Then we could cut it we could cut off a piece and put it in a group, and we could do that over and over again until we had 25 foot long pieces. So now what we're going to do is we're going to divide. So 25 goes into 125. How many times? How many groups? So 25 cannot go into 1. 25 cannot fit into 12. So we're going to figure out how many times 25 goes into 125. So I'm just going to start by thinking about all the 25 facts that I know. I often, when I'm thinking of 25 facts, I think of quarters because 25 cents equals a quarter. So 25 cents times 2 is 50 cents. Is that close enough? No, we're going to keep going. So 25 times 3 equals 75. And then 25 times 4 is equal to 100. So then I don't know my next fact, but I can add another group. So 25 times 5 is equal to 100 plus 25, which is equal to what? 125. So our answer is we can make 5 groups of 25. Now let's go to the next one. Let me go ahead and erase all this work. Let's go to the next one. Shane made strawberry preserves and was putting it into jars. He puts 256 ounces into each jar. How many jars can Shane make if he has a total of 64 ounces? So I'm trying to think, am I looking for groups or am I looking for the number in groups? We are looking for the number of groups, and I know that because it told us that 256 ounces is how many he has all together. Oops, this problem is not correct. Let me fix this real fast. Okay, so we know the total number of preserves is 256 ounces. Now we need to take those ounces that we have all together and we're going to divide it into these jars. But we don't know how many jars because we have 64 ounces in each jar. So we're going to have to divide. So I need to know how many groups. So I have the total of 256, which is my dividend. We're dividing that by the divisor, which is the number of groups, which we are looking for. And then I know that 64 ounces goes in each jar. Since I know that 64 ounces go into each jar, I can write 64 in my quotient spot. So we are missing our divisor of how many jars. So I can divide it as 64 divided by 256. Since I don't know my 64 facts, I may go to the side and start adding. So 64 times 2, we can see if that gets us close enough. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 6 is 12. Is that close? No, we are so really far from our dividend. We want to get as close as possible without going over. So 64 times 3 equals 4 times 3 which is 12, and we carry that 10, which is 3 times 6, which is 18, plus 1 is 19. Now we're getting closer, but just in case that this isn't the closest, I want to do it one more time. So 64 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1, 25. So how many groups fit into 256? 4 groups. Now it is your turn to try this out on your own. So this will be a question on your Edpuzzle. So I'm going to read this to you, and then you are going to solve this on your own. So Timmy had 108 ounces of water at the beginning of the day. So that would be Timmy's total number of ounces of water. Ooh. If Timmy drinks 12 ounces of water an hour, how many hours will his water last? So are we looking for groups, or are we looking for how many's in the group? Once you figure that out, set up your equation, solve it, and then type your answer in the box. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you in person. Goodbye.